Welcome to this practice session for the Massachusetts 7D license practice test, covering both general driving and special operator rules. What is the maximum speed limit in a thickly settled or business district in Massachusetts unless otherwise posted 30 miles per hour? This is the statutory speed limit in high traffic, densely populated areas. Ready for the next one. What is the statutory speed limit on an undivided highway outside of a thickly settled area 40 miles per hour? This is the default speed limit for non-posted, undivided roads outside of densely settled areas. Time for a new question. What is the minimum license suspension for a junior operator JOL first offense conviction of speeding? 90 days JOL violations carry severe penalties to promote safe driving among new operators. Moving along now. How long must a person under 18 hold a learner's permit before being eligible for a JOL 6 consecutive months? This minimum holding period is required to gain experience before the road test. Let's see this one. When driving a junior operator license, what is the time restriction for operating a vehicle unless accompanied by a parent or guardian? 12:30 a.m. to 5 a.m. This is the nighttime curfew for JOL holders. Next question up. During the first 6 months of having a JOL, a driver cannot transport any passengers under the age of 18 unless who is also present. An operator at least 21 years old who has held a license for at least 1 year. This is the JOL passenger restriction, aimed at minimizing distractions for new drivers. Take a moment for this one. What does a flashing red traffic signal mean? Stop and proceed only when it is safe to do so. A flashing red is treated the same as a stop sign. On to the next topic. What does a flashing yellow traffic signal mean? Proceed with caution. A flashing yellow is a warning that requires slow and careful driving. Moving ahead. When two vehicles arrive at a four-way stop intersection at the same time, which vehicle has the right-of-way? The vehicle to the right. The standard right-of-way rule at a four-way stop is to yield to the vehicle on your right. Here's another one. What is the legal blood alcohol concentration BA limit for a driver under 21 years old in Massachusetts? Zero tolerance law, 0.02%. Massachusetts has a zero tolerance policy for underage drinking and driving. Ready for the next one. What must you do before turning right on a red light in Massachusetts unless a sign prohibits it? Come to a complete stop and yield to pedestrians and traffic. A full stop and yielding are mandatory before a right turn on red. Time for a new question. What color and shape is a no passing zone sign? Yellow pennant. This sign is located on the left side of the roadway in addition to pavement markings. Moving along now. What type of sign is shaped like a diamond and is typically yellow or orange? Warning sign. The diamond shape is the standard for all warning signs. Let's see this one. What does a sign depicting a deer leaping mean? Deer crossing ahead. This sign warns drivers of areas where deer frequently cross the road. Next question up. Which of the following must you use your headlights for? From half an hour after sunset until half an hour before sunrise. This is the mandatory time frame for headlight use, regardless of other conditions. Take a moment for this one. When should you use your low beam headlights instead of high beam headlights? When you are within 500 feet of an oncoming vehicle. This prevents blinding the driver of the oncoming vehicle. On to the next topic. What is the proper action when an emergency vehicle with flashing lights and a siren approaches you from either direction? Pull to the right edge of the road and stop. The law requires you to clear the way and stop for emergency vehicles. Moving ahead, what is the penalty for a junior operator who refuses a chemical breath test for alcohol? First offense, a 3-year license suspension. Refusal under the JOL law carries a much heavier penalty than for an adult. Here's another one. What must you do when approaching a school bus with its red lights flashing and stop arm extended on a 2-lane road? Stop and remain stopped until the lights stop flashing. On an undivided road, all traffic must stop for a school bus. Ready for the next one. What is the rule for passing a cyclist on a public way in Massachusetts? Give the cyclist at least 3 feet of clearance. Massachusetts law mandates a minimum of 3 feet to pass a bicyclist safely. Time for a new question. In a rotary or roundabout, who has the right of way? Traffic already in the rotary. The traffic already circulating has the right of way and entering traffic must yield. Moving along now. What is the fine for speeding in a clearly marked work zone in Massachusetts? The fine is doubled. This is a mandatory penalty to protect highway workers. Let's see this one. What is the mandatory legal action a JOL holder must take regarding cell phone use while driving? Cannot use a mobile phone or any electronic device even if hands-free. The JOL law imposes a complete ban on all electronic device use while driving. Next question up. What does a double solid yellow line in the center of the road mean? Traffic on both sides is prohibited from passing. The double solid line means no vehicle on either side may cross to pass. Take a moment for this one. What must you do if you are involved in a crash that results in personal injury or property damage over $1,000? File a crash report with the RMV within 5 days. This is a mandatory legal requirement for significant accidents. On to the next topic. What should you do to recover from hydroplaning? Ease off the gas and steer straight until you regain traction. The key to hydroplaning recovery is to reduce speed gently and maintain steering until the tires reconnect with the road. Moving ahead, what is the correct hand signal for a stop or slowing down? Left arm extended downward. This is the standard manual signal for stopping or slowing. Here's another one. What must you do when a pedestrian is in a crosswalk? Yield the right of way to the pedestrian. Drivers must always yield to pedestrians in a crosswalk. Ready for the next one. What is the closest distance you are allowed to park from a fire hydrant in Massachusetts? There is no specific distance given, must not obstruct access. Massachusetts law emphasizes not obstructing access to the hydrant, generally interpreted as leaving enough space for fire services. Time for a new question. In Massachusetts, what is the minimum age to obtain a junior operator license? 16 and a half years old. This is the minimum age for the JOL road test after holding a permit for 6 months. Moving along now, what should a driver do if their accelerator sticks? Shift to neutral or turn off the ignition and brake carefully. Putting the car in neutral removes power from the engine, allowing you to stop safely. Let's see this one. What must you carry with you at all times when operating a motor vehicle? Your valid driver's license or permit. This is a mandatory legal requirement to prove you are authorized to drive. Next question up. What is the minimum conviction for a first offense of driving while under the influence, OUI, for a driver over 21, 1-year license suspension? OUI convictions carry a mandatory license suspension. Take a moment for this one. What is the distance the law requires you to stop from a streetcar or trolley stopped to take on or discharge passengers? At least 8 feet away. This minimum distance is required to safely pass a stopped public conveyance. On to the next topic. What does a solid white line on the right edge of a roadway indicate? The edge of the vehicular traffic lane. This line marks the outside boundary of the legal driving lane. Moving ahead. What is the color of a warning sign that indicates construction or maintenance work zones? Orange. Orange signs are used exclusively for temporary work zones. Here's another one. What does a sign with a red circle and a slash through a picture of a car and motorcycle mean? Vehicles are prohibited. The red circle and slash indicate that the pictured action or vehicle is forbidden. Ready for the next one. In a T intersection with no signs, which driver must yield the right of way? The driver on the street that ends. The vehicle on the terminating street must yield to traffic on the through street. Time for a new question. Which of the following is a symptom of fatigue that should cause a driver to pull over? Yawning, heavy eyelids, difficulty remembering the last few miles. These are all classic signs of driver fatigue, indicating it is unsafe to continue. Moving along now. What is the rule for passing another vehicle on the left? You must have enough space to complete the pass before a solid yellow line or oncoming traffic. The passing maneuver must be completed safely and legally without interfering with other traffic. Let's see this one. What is the safest way to enter an expressway from an acceleration lane? Accelerate to match the speed of the traffic and merge when a safe gap appears. Matching speed and finding a safe gap minimizes disruption to existing traffic flow. Next question up. What is the correct following distance under ideal driving conditions? Use the 3-second rule. The 3-second rule is the standard for ideal conditions to ensure a safe following distance. Take a moment for this one. What is the penalty for a JOL holder violating the passenger restriction for a first offense 60-day license suspension? Violating the passenger restriction carries a mandatory suspension for junior operators. On to the next topic. What should you do if your brakes fail while driving? Pump the brake pedal rapidly, shift to a lower gear, and use the parking brake. These steps are a procedure for emergency braking when the primary hydraulic system fails. Moving ahead, what is the most important factor in determining the distance it takes to stop your vehicle? Your speed. Speed is the single greatest factor influencing stopping distance as it increases kinetic energy. Here's another one. What does a sign that says keep right or keep left with a large arrow indicate? Traffic must follow the direction of the arrow around an obstruction. This sign is a regulatory mandate to safely route traffic around an island, divider, or other obstruction. Ready for the next one. When driving in a fog or heavy rain during daylight hours, what should you do with your lights? Turn on your low beam headlights. Low beams are required for visibility during inclement weather. Time for a new question. How long is a 7D school pupil transport certificate valid for? 1 year. The 7D certificate must be renewed annually, 6 months for drivers over 70, insulin-dependent diabetics, or those with hypoglycemic episodes. Moving along now. What must a JOL applicant complete besides classroom instruction and behind-the-wheel instruction? 40 hours of supervised practice driving. In addition to 30 hours of classroom and 12 hours of behind-the-wheel instruction, 40 hours of supervised practice, including 10 at night, are required. Let's see the final question. What is the minimum passing score for the Massachusetts permit test? 18 out of 25 questions. You must answer at least 18 questions correctly to pass the knowledge exam. That concludes our review of the Massachusetts 7D license and general driving test questions. Drive safely and responsibly.